Qinghe City breathed with noise, color, and money. Perfect cover for a demonic cultivator pretending to be nobody. I sat at a cheap tea stall, sipping chilled tea like I had nothing to hide. Living like rats was embarrassing for a transmigrator, but breathing still beat dying. My name was Chu Xuan. 20 years ago, I crossed into this cultivation world. No ancient grandpa helped me. No heaven-defying cheat awakened, just a face and average talent. 10 brutal years passed before I finally drew chi into my body. That small success promoted me from outer disciple to inner disciple of Wuji sect. Since talent failed me, I learned everything dirty: poison, goo, insects, puppets, corpses, and disguise. My cultivation stayed average, but when it came to surviving, I became very useful. At my peak, I ranked 10th among the inner disciples. Almost impressive, almost. Then disaster struck. Our founding patriarch died from chi deviation in secluded cultivation. The righteous sects smelled blood and called us evil. Justice was only their excuse. 5 righteous sects joined together and crushed Wuji sect in a single month. Golden Core masters died, surrendered, or vanished. The sect leader fell with them. Compared to monsters like that, I was nothing. And being nothing saved my life. While famous disciples were hunted, I slipped through cracks no one cared about. 1 year later, countless Wuji disciples had been executed. Somehow I was still drinking tea. My dirty skills had become a survival kit. Even the street noise belonged to me. 2 truth-listening bugs rested deep in my ears, feeding every whisper into my mind. Then footsteps stopped before me. He Liang finally gathered courage and sat down. "Senior brother, truly?" he whispered, amazed. "I chose the busiest street for a secret meeting." "Law-abiding rogue cultivators," I said calmly. What was there to fear? Every senior above me was jailed, beheaded, or missing, yet I still sat free. He Liang's reverence almost looked real. Almost. Then I asked if he brought the goods. The storage bag slid across the table. Inside, I felt the blood beads waiting. My blood art needed essence blood. Mortals worked, but that path was suicide. Slaughtering mortals shredded karmic merit. Later, heaven answered with thunder and fire. Our patriarch probably died from exactly that. Too many bodies, too much heavenly debt. So demon beasts were safer. Their blood came condensed into volatile little beads. "Acceptable quality," I said, and tossed 10 small spirit stones onto the table. Greed flashed clearly in He Liang's eyes as his hand snapped over the stones. I almost stood, but the street changed before my ears could ignore it. The snack vendor, the butcher, the rouge seller, every familiar rhythm had turned wrong. Dense foundation auras pressed through the crowd. An invisible net had closed around me. Only one person in Qinghe City knew this face. He Liang had sold me. Looks like today I would need a new face. My expression did not even move. "Junior brother, listen." I smiled calmly and asked for spirit blood pills. He Liang admitted he had 2 stolen from the sect treasury during our escape. Then He Liang said the wrong name, Uncle Liu, so the bait had teeth. "Do not ask questions you should not ask." I let the warning freeze him. That warning worked. He Liang covered his mouth, and I saw fear replace curiosity. Uncle Liu mattered. If He Liang believed I had found him, he would follow anywhere. His eyes changed. Protection from a foundation cultivator was worth more than spirit stones. I asked again. "Spirit blood pills, the more the better. Let him imagine the rest." He hesitated badly. Those pills were valuable, and greed had always owned him first. Then he bargained. "Take me to Uncle Liu, and I will hand them over." I refused hard. The risk is too great, exactly what he needed to hear. Fear beat greed. He Liang dug into his bag with shaking hands. 1 medium stone. He shoved it forward like a man buying his own life. That was enough. Not to save him, of course. Only to make him relax. He smiled first. The fool thought he had bought safety with 1 stone. I named East. An abandoned house waited there, quiet enough for ugly work. A copper coin. I left it on the table and ended the meeting. Before I stood, the street noise shifted. My little bugs caught it first. The butcher stopped cutting meat. The rouge seller stopped calling customers. The snack seller laughed half a beat too late. The rhythm was wrong. A cold pressure pressed through the crowd, foundation establishment, and more than one. He Liang smiled too carefully now. Even his relief had started to stink. My tea cooled. I stared at the bowl, while the whole street became a net. Then I understood. This was not a meeting anymore. It was an ambush. Only He Liang knew the face I wore today, so his fate was already sealed. A new face would be needed before sunset. Conveniently, one sat right across from me. I stood calmly, letting the trap think it still belonged to someone else. Liang followed close, afraid I might abandon him before reaching Uncle Liu. Behind our backs, the righteous hunters finally stepped out from the crowd. Their leader smiled like a fisherman who had already dragged the catch ashore. "Follow them quietly," he ordered. The whole pack began moving through Qinghe City. We walked east, away from witnesses, away from noise, and toward my prepared stage. Liang kept glancing around, but his fear pointed him only closer to me. The busy market faded behind us. Broken houses and empty lanes swallowed the sound. East District ruins waited ahead, silent, cracked, and useful for ugly work. Liang saw shelter there. I saw walls that would not talk. The abandoned house looked ordinary outside. That was the best kind of trap. I let Liang enter first, still chasing the shadow of Uncle Liu. Inside the ruin, every step had already been considered before he arrived. Outside, the righteous cultivators surrounded the nearby houses without making a sound. A young disciple whispered, asking when to enter. The old hunter only raised one finger. They waited tense, every sword half drawn, every breath held for the signal. For one heartbeat, the whole ruin became silent enough to hear fear breathing. Then the signal came, wood cracked, dust jumped, and the lie began. They followed fast. The righteous leader was already tasting the merit in his mouth. Qinghe grew quieter in my memory, but the ruin exploded back into motion. The east ruins shook as the broken doorway spat dust into the air. Liang's body flew out first, torn, bleeding, and screaming for help. Moments later, hunters saw exactly what I wanted them to see. A junior froze, staring at the injured man thrown from the house. They waited no longer. Every sword turned toward the dark doorway. Then thunder cracked. The door blasted outward, and Liang came flying through dust. "Underground, Liu Zhenxiang!" He screamed the perfect lie and pointed into the dark. The leader roared, "Capture them alive." Then everyone rushed past the bait. They missed me. While boots thundered inside, I opened one eye in the dust. Inside, they found a dark hole leading underground exactly where I wanted them. One breath later, the injured Liang dragged himself into an alley and disappeared. Down they went. Passage after passage swallowed their anger, time, and confidence. Traps wasted them. Every wrong turn made the righteous heroes look more ridiculous. Then someone shouted. A dried corpse lay ahead, faceless, in Liang's clothes. The leader froze. This corpse was Liang. The one outside had never been him. Chase him now. His fury filled the tunnel, but the trick was already finished. Above the ruins, Liang's face vanished into the streets, carrying Qishuan underneath. I escaped again. But in this world, every stolen face only bought me one more day. Outside Qinghe City, I finally stopped by the river, far from the righteous hunters. Liang's face had served its purpose. Now it only scratched at my jaw. Flesh masks chafe, hastily made one's chafe worse. I tossed the evidence away. Once alone, I searched his storage bag and found the knight had paid well. 80 small stones, 1 medium stone, pills, recovery water, and a bucket of beast blood. Add his spiritual power, and Liang became more useful dead than alive. Murder and robbery truly were the fastest way for a poor cultivator to grow rich. Back in that courtyard, I had already squeezed Liang dry before taking his face. He gave everything, names, routes, sect patrols, and every scrap of fear inside him. Useful, but temporary. I could run today, I could not run forever. Every small breakthrough needed oceans of living blood. Every meal for my goo meant danger. Maybe going righteous would solve everything. I nearly laughed at my own stupidity. Righteous techniques meant starting over. With my talent, old age would kill me first. Demonic arts were ugly, but low barriers, fast results, and power suited mediocre men. Then I noticed a dusty, blood-colored mirror hiding in the corner of the bag. A magical artifact? I pushed spiritual power into it, but nothing answered. That was strange. Normal artifacts woke up from even a little spiritual power, so I poured half my spiritual power into the mirror and waited for it to bite. The blood mirror hummed, dust vanished, and another world appeared inside the glass. Skyscrapers, dead streets, and wandering corpses. It looked exactly like old zombie movies. My old world had stories like this: zombies, dead cities, and fools who died first. Then the mirror sent a thought into me. If I wished, I could cross over. Curiosity moved first. My hand touched the glass, and the world folded around me. Light twisted violently. Strange sounds, broken colors, and spinning images swallowed my senses. When sight returned, I stood on a wide street that did not belong to Kongshuan. Shops lined both sides, but no customers came. Only weeds claimed the road. Desolation stretched everywhere. Cars rusted in silence, and the skyscrapers watched like tombstones. Then footsteps dragged from behind a car. Something dead had noticed my breathing. A rotting figure, staggered out, hollow-eyed, drooling, and hungry for living flesh. The zombie roared and lunged at me like instinct had replaced its soul. I raised one hand. A bloodline snapped out faster than the corpse could bite. Its head fell before the body understood. Chi condensation was still cultivation. I could not fly or command heaven yet, but mortals were still beneath me. The zombie body was only mortal flesh. One clean strike was enough. I almost left, until something inside my sleeve stirred like a starving pet. My palms split, and the bloodsteel wire crawled out, hungry and alert. Bloodsteel wire was tough, obedient, and far cheaper than wasting spiritual power. At my level, 1 or 2 spells could empty me. Goo worms solved that problem. Right now I could only nurture one. Later, one thread could become many. Then it turned toward the corpse, trembling with hunger for flesh and blood. Zombies could move, so maybe they counted as living beings after all. One thought surfaced. Could zombie flesh feed my goo the same way human flesh did? Another thought followed. Could zombie blood refine into power for my main technique? The more I considered it, the more this dead world looked like a treasure vault. My technique was blood transformation spirit stealing art, a high-grade chi condensation method. It was not perfect, but if the art advanced, my cultivation advanced with it. Testing came first. I placed my hand on the corpse and let the goo feed. Chewing echoed inside. I had heard that sound often enough to stop caring. To me, fed, goo worms were no different from tame cats or dogs. The worm returned, clean and satisfied. Apparently, zombie flesh suited its taste. That settled it. Zombie flesh could feed my goo. Now I needed their blood. The city answered, with distant groans. 3 innocent passers-by shuffled into view, passing zombies rather. They roared bravely right before my goo tied them down. They kept roaring. Even bound on the ground, the 3 corpses were lively enough. From my bag, I pulled out the large bucket meant for beast blood. One clean cut opened their throats, and the bucket slowly filled red. No waste allowed. Once drained, the bodies became food for the bloodsteel wire. Now came refinement. I activated the blood transformation spell over the bucket. The spell had no power in battle, it only stripped filth from blood. Impurities burned away. The bucket of zombie blood shrank into a few red beads. Zombie blood or beast blood. It made no difference if it could make me stronger. I swallowed them, and began refining the power before caution could ruin the moment. The energy moved, cold, dirty, but usable after the spell stripped it clean. Then it worked. My spiritual power grew, small but unmistakably real. A laugh almost escaped me. This corpse-filled world was not danger, it was supply. My goo fed, my art advanced, and the streets were full of walking materials. At this rate, the 5th layer of my technique would not stay distant for long. First, more blood. I sent the bloodsteel wire ahead to scout the dead street. Every groan ahead sounded less like a threat and more like loose spirit stones. This place solved the problem that had chased me since Wuji sect fell. No mortals watched, no righteous patrols waited, only corpses wandered in endless supply. For once, my demonic methods did not feel like a burden, they felt like keys. I smiled then, not kindly, not loudly, just enough to admit I had won. If 1 bucket worked, then 10 buckets would work better. 100, better still. The bloodsteel wire twitched again, eager for the next meal before I even moved. Good, I thought. A hungry tool was only dangerous if its master stayed poor. Soon 5th layer. That thought burned brighter than any righteous banner ever could. This apocalypse was not a nightmare for me, it was a cultivation field. The dead wandered, without knowing they had become my medicine, my bait, and my livestock. And for once, the heavens had handed a demonic cultivator exactly what he needed. No righteous masks, no fake justice, no sect patrols, just endless flesh wandering freely. The old problem had become simple. I only needed buckets, time, and patience. Still, I checked the blood mirror in my sleeve, making sure the way back remained. Escape mattered too. A treasure vault meant nothing if the door locked behind me. The mirror stayed, quiet but obedient. Good. Now I could focus on farming. A few beads had already proven the method. Now I needed a real harvest. The crimson thread slid forward again, hunting the next groan before I even pointed. 3 more corpses staggered from a storefront, and my bucket suddenly felt too small. Binding them was easy. The hard part was deciding how many I could process today. The thought thrilled me more than the kill. Progress was finally measurable again. In Kongshuan, blood meant risk, patrols, karma, and thunder waiting above my head. Here, blood waited on every corner, walking me on its own 2 legs. A perfect farm. That was the only honest name for this ruined planet. I could return whenever I wished, harvest quietly, and leave before trouble learned my name. For the first time since Wuji sect fell, my path forward looked clear. Not justice, mercy, not righteousness, only resources, risk, and strength. If zombies counted as human enough for blood, then I had found my shortcut. The 5th layer was close now, close enough that even my calm almost cracked. I looked ahead at the dead city, and for once I felt excitement instead of fear. Zombies were human, yet not human, and that made them perfect for me. Blood transformation spirit. Stealing art had 9 layers, and every layer meant a higher realm. 1st through 3rd was early key condensation. 4th through 6th meant the middle stage. I had mastered the 4th layer, standing firmly in the middle stage. 5th layer meant new spells, stronger cultivation, and 1 step closer to survival. More importantly, zombies were not human. Killing them would not anger the heavenly Tao. Excellent. A loophole. A perfect, shameless loophole sitting in front of me. I had stumbled into paradise. Not holy paradise, of course, my kind of paradise. Blood arts, goo, poison, corpse refinement, puppets, this planet could feed all of it. Countless roaming zombies were natural flesh vessels, walking materials, and free cultivation resources. Back in Kongshuan. Returning now would still be suicide under righteous pursuit. But on this planet, I held life and death over every corpse that moved. So I decided I would stay, farm quietly, and return only after true power. Time to gather more stock. My little thread twitched like it agreed. While scouting streets, I spotted a 5-story shopping center with a faded sign. Little Runfa Mall. The name was faded, but the building looked useful. Dead eyes turned. Dozens of zombies noticed me at the exact same time. I stepped through the shattered doors, and the 1st floor groaned awake. Then the horde charged. My smile widened before I even raised a hand. Do not rush, I told them warmly. There was plenty to go around. The crimson wire shot forward, and the mall became a slaughterhouse without panic. The 1st floor fell quickly. The horde came eager, and the wire answered faster. Dozens of corpses piled up around me, and every one of them meant future cultivation. A short while later, I dragged my harvest up to the 5th floor. There I found display bathtubs. Finally, this dead mall showed some real value. 6 bathtubs waited. Soon each one brimmed with thick dark blood. My arms ached, but looking at that blood, even fatigue tasted sweet. This much blood could feed my cultivation for a very, very long time. Still, manual bloodletting was painfully inefficient. I needed workers who never complained. Yin corpses then. A few refined servants could handle the heavy lifting. High-tier corpse refinement needed a strong body, heavy muscles, and resentment deep enough to burn. Mall zombies disappointed me badly. Withered husks, weak limbs, barely worth refining. So quiet, too. Barely a whisper, and they still wanted to be zombies? Forget these ones. I would rest first, then scout nearby blocks for sturdier stock. A lounge chair stood nearby, absurdly clean in the middle of the apocalypse. I dragged it into the clearing and decided the dead could wait. Blood steel wire coiled invisibly around me, faster than my own reactions. For 1 year, I had lived on a knife's edge under righteous pursuit. If anything lunged, the wire would cut it down before my eyes opened. My calm face was only a mask. Cold rationality had kept me alive. Now finally, peace found me in a mall full of corpses and blood. Outside the mall, 2 survivors crept through the shadows, thinking the dead were their biggest problem. The skinny man whispered that he would do anything if Tanghu cured his mother. Tanghu smiled, like a wolf teaching a lamb how safe the forest was. He promised rescue. Just draw the zombies away, he said. I will pull you out. Trust made him stupid. The skinny survivor nodded and slipped inside first. His clumsy steps echoed through the 1st floor, and dead heads began turning. Only after that Tang Hu entered, walking safely around the danger he had created. He wasted nothing. Canned food, medicine, anything useful vanished into his backpack. Tang Hu chuckled. His hands kept moving. Saving bait was never part of the deal. Then came screaming. "Brother Hu, help me!" Too many had cornered him. The skinny man froze completely. Grief stunned him harder than any zombie bite. Then Tang Hu mentioned the truth. The sick mother had died yesterday. A zombie lunged. While he stood there, broken and rotting teeth sank in. One last use. Tang Hu admitted he had brought him here as meat shield. Then he laughed and promised to take real good care of the man's little sister. With his final breath, the dying man swore he would return for Tang Hu. Tang Hu only grinned. "Come find me when you actually turn into one." The bloody feast rang like a dinner bell, pulling zombies down from upper floors. His path cleared. Greed lit up his eyes brighter than any survivor's caution. Upper floors meant untouched supplies. Tang Hu skipped the second and climbed straight higher. The stairwell stayed empty all the way up. Tang Hu's greed grew with every step. No groans above, no footsteps, no resistance. That made the fifth floor tempting. He stepped out, expecting untouched supplies, but the smell hit him first. The floor was littered with zombie corpses, all butchered recently and still tacky. Someone beat him, up here. That thought finally slowed Tang Hu's hands. 6 bathtubs brimmed with dark blood around the sleeping youth like some insane shrine. Then he saw the clearing, the lounge chair, and the strange young man asleep. The scene was so wrong that even Tang Hu had to swallow his fear. Then greed returned. Near the sleeping man, pristine canned food sat neatly stacked. Caution lost instantly. Tang Hu crept forward and reached for someone else's supplies. Can after can vanished into his backpack, while the youth seemed to sleep. "Your physique is quite good." My voice reached him before my eyes opened. Tang Hu jumped, like his spine had snapped awake, ripping the machete from his belt. The machete swung viciously at me, but the crimson wire rose first. Metal struck metal. The shock ran up Tang Hu's arm and nearly broke his grip. He stumbled back and finally saw the red worm coiled lazily in my palm. I watched him like a butcher judging whether the meat had enough muscle. Tang Hu understood one thing clearly. Anyone with a blood parasite was not normal. So he lowered his backpack slowly and raised both hands like a civilized man. "Boss, the supplies are yours," he said. Then he mentioned Zhao Hong. His shoulders were broad, his arms thick. Finally, a corpse worth refining. "Zhao Hong, huh?" I watched his mouth move but studied his body instead. The red worm coiled lazily in my palm, but Tang Hu's eyes could not leave it. He tried smiling. The smile shook harder than his raised hands. "Civilized men," he said. I almost admired how fast predators learned manners. Good muscles, deep greed, and fear underneath. Better material than every mall zombie combined. I stepped closer. Tang Hu stepped back, careful not to touch the machete. Tang Hu's eyes darted to the stairs, then to the worm, then back to me. The wire twitched. Tang Hu froze before his escape thought even became movement. Smart choice, thought. A good corpse should not be damaged before refinement. Boss Zhao Hong was meant to scare me. Instead, it told me there were more survivors. More survivors meant more information, more supplies, and maybe better corpse material. Tang Hu misunderstood my silence as negotiation. That mistake made him breathe easier. I gave him one calm look, the kind butchers save for expensive cuts. The supplies were interesting. Tang Hu himself was far more useful. His smile collapsed. For the first time, Tang Hu understood he was the loot. The blood steel. Wire slid from my palm, slow enough for him to understand. I had searched the whole mall for sturdy stock. Then it walked to me willingly. Tang Hu whispered, "One more bargain." But the wire had already reached his shadow. Perfect timing, really. I needed a yin corpse, and Tang Hu needed a new purpose.